Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. My name is Sam Lance, joined by Jackson Bezdek as always. And Bez, Kansas is finally making some offseason roster moves. Two transfers were added, and we'll get to discussing a very, very key returner here. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's break it down. Episode 71 of The Hum coming right up next. All right, Bez, let's start with probably the biggest news for Kansas of the entire offseason. Flory Bidunga is back, Bez. He is back on the Jayhawks. Whenever I text you about it, you said this is the happiest I have been about Kansas in a long time or something along those lines.
Since
So just
Vegas.
just discuss your feelings, Bez, about Flory coming back.
It's just nice to have something go your way, you know. I think I said since Vegas, the Duke game, which I've been thinking about that game a lot lately because some of the comments I made after that game to the Duke fans could just the freezing cold takes Twitter page could just be me from that night in Vegas, just like 20 times. But yeah, the Flory loss, like we talked about, it wasn't necessarily Flory the player losing that hurt so much. It was just the fact that that's a Bill Self guy, and Bill Self guys never leave. And it would have really sucked to watch a Bill Self guy leave after 1 year that he showed so much promise in. But it's just super nice to have him back. Fills a need that that Kansas desperately needed. That's just on paper, depth chart wise, it was big. So I'm just fired up, man. DP and Flory, just like we all talked about towards the end of last year. It's finally going to happen, and it's set in stone. I don't think Flory ever wanted to leave, but you know the whole world we're in. We discussed it last episode, so just get that stuff hammered out. We're good to go. All right, let's hoop now.
Yeah, I think we also kind of discussed this last episode. The biggest thing with getting Flory back is he just fits right into what exactly Darryn Peterson is all about. And retaining players is really important, I think,
Mhm.
in this new era of college basketball. So I mean, really, what I'm just excited to see, Bez, is kind of the change in, not the change in the defensive style, but the change in, having a big man who can really go out there and hedge those ball screens, who can get back, block shots. I mean, this is exactly the Bill Self type of defensive center that'll have next season in Flory. So I think that's probably the biggest thing there. But yeah, I'm over the moon, Bez. This is last year the biggest offseason, quote unquote, from Bill Self wins was getting back Hunter Dickinson, uh, KJ Adams, and DeJuan Harris. Getting back Flory with the roster that is coming in, I think that trumps all three of those guys, to be completely honest. And the production wasn't like extravagant in any way last season, but we saw firsthand Flory dominate a Houston team that we saw go to the national championship game. They had three bigs who were really, really good. Really, really good, and Flory kind of dominated that game. So this is just such a big win on so many levels. And if you look in the portal right now, I don't know who Kansas could have gotten to play
Right.
the center position. And that is again why I just didn't think it made sense for Flory to enter the portal in the first place because you are guaranteed a starting spot. You're guaranteed to be one of the guys. I mean, what is Flory going to be like one of the only actual returners, people who played minutes last year who is returning to this team?
He is the one. It is just him, you know. And like that's the biggest piece is, you know, Florida goes to Indiana or something. Who is playing the five for Kansas next year? It is not going to be somebody that's going to get people super excited. Could it have worked out? Maybe. Maybe it could have, but this is just really nice insurance to have. I mean, gosh, There's not a ton of good big guys in the portal, straight up. It's a lot of guards, a lot of wings, and that's I feel like typically what it is. When guys going from mid majors hopping in the portal, it's because they were a guard or a wing. They average 15 to 17 a game in their mid major, and they want to go get a payday. That's kind of how the portal is shaping out in college basketball. Very rarely is a Hunter Dickinson going to be in there, and Flory, completely different player, but like you said, better for Bill Self, better for Kansas, better for Darryn Peterson, and it's a guy fans are familiar with, which is so hard. I mean, we discussed it. The Final Four teams, yeah, they all had transfers in it, but they had been there for a couple of years by this point. That continuity it's hard to have a completely new team and try and go for a Final Four run. Even Duke, they had those freshmen, but that's fine. Freshmen are still coming into your campus super early. Like Bryson Tiller, he's been with Kansas now since 2024, going back to November, December. So, having this continuity where Peterson's been really involved, I feel like lately, especially since he was in Lawrence for those games. Tiller's been around for a while. You got Marco and Jamari, who have been in the program 2 years
Culture
now.
guys, culture guys.
And now you have Flory coming back, which I feel like Flory's a pretty big culture guy too. So that's not going to be your starting five or anything, but it's at least a handful of dudes who understand what the process is and can help everyone around them.
How many more times, Bez, do you think, moving forward the next 3, 4, 5 years, we're gonna have to go through this just as
Every year.
I
Literally
mean,
every year.
that
It's insane.
why would you not enter the portal, see what's going on? I mean, I'm not for sure on this, but I would assume that Kansas ended up coughing up some more money to keep Flory.
Yes, 100%. I think you have to, like first of all, you have to do it. If he comes to your office and he's like, "I want to stay, but you have to pay me more," you have to figure that out in this era. And I don't know if you saw the Hunter Dickinson stuff from
Oh yeah.
last night with Jeff and those guys, but it kind of surprised me that Kansas isn't really throwing the bag around like that. That they're just really not. So that was kind of a wake up call of like, oh, okay, probably not even in the top 20 in NIL spending across the country.
He said
You
not
know,
top 15, right? He said no way
not top
Kansas
15.
is in the top 15, I believe.
Like you kind of have to be, you kind of have to be. And it's unfortunate that the Kansas culture can't take you as far, like for Houston, for example. None of those guys left, and they're probably not super high in the NIL spending either. But, you got to adapt to the culture and the circumstances around you, what the landscape of college athletics looks like now. And hopefully Kansas seems to be doing a better job of that. And, we'll get into it in a bit here, but go after guys that make sense for your team, not the guys with the big names, like none of these guys are necessarily huge big name guys. I mean, even Flory in the official portal rankings, he wasn't even top 15 in the portal
Wait,
rankings.
I think he
But
was like number 9, actually.
number nine, I saw something he was like 16 or 17, but those are all such a crapshoot anyway. I mean, who actually has any idea? But the point is, for Kansas fans, he was number one on everyone's board for transfer portal, just because of what we saw last year, how exciting he can maybe be next year. And dude, look, Flory, you're pretty much guaranteed 30 minutes a game now if you can stay out of foul trouble. It's really that simple. So this should be exciting for everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you there. If you guys haven't seen that Hunter Dickinson unplugged interview, head over to the Field of 68 After Dark channel. I mean, honestly, that was a great interview and really gives you a lot of insight in just how, I mean, not messed up, but just how different college athletics is nowadays. That was a great interview from Jeff and the guys. All right, so Flory is locked in. The point guard and center position for next year's team is locked in. We'll get more into kind of the roster construction later on here, but two commits to discuss. Jaden Dawson from Loyola Chicago, a guard, and Trey White, a forward from Illinois. Let's start with Jaden Dawson. I'm actually, whenever I first heard the news, was just like, okay. But I've kind of dove in a little bit more on this guy, and I actually think it's a really good pickup for Kansas. Just some general information on Dawson. He's 6'4", 195, pretty good size for a two guard next to Darryn Peterson. He started in all 32 games for Loyola Chicago this past season, 13.9 points per game. It ended up on the All Atlantic 10 second team. Uh, Probably the most notable thing here, made 86 three-point field goals while shooting 36%. That means he was a pretty high volume shooter. And he had five or more threes in 7 games, and he had six on 2 occasions. So that's pretty big there. He also had 6 games of 20 plus points. He averaged 3.1 rebounds. And in his last game of this past, or sorry, his second to last game of this past season, 35 points and a 1 point win against San Francisco. What was just your kind of first initial reaction of Kansas signing Dawson?
I was pretty excited initially, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of what I was saying. The other guard I'd want to pair with Peterson. I didn't want like a Donovan Dent, like a super blue chip, high quality guy that gets 20 a game and needs the ball and can go. Jaden, I feel like he fits in a little bit better. He's a good shooter. I don't know if he's a great shooter. I do think playing with a guy with the gravity of Peterson can turn you into a great shooter. And I think that was Kansas's issue, why Rylan Griffin never really got going, why AJ Storr had that whole adventure, that was other reasons. But and then even Zeke, like he had stretches throughout the season where it seemed like he couldn't make a shot. And DeJuan Harris is your point guard. Yes, DeJuan is a great setup man, but he is not ever going to attract multiple defenders to him at any point. And, you're going to get open threes. Griffin maybe what, got 2 or 3 open looks a game? That's nowhere near enough to get you in any type of rhythm. Peterson is going to be way different. If he gets downhill, you're going to have to throw a second guy at him. You just are. And now I think that opens things up for a guy like Jaden Dawson, who can now kind of turn himself into a catch and shoot guy, but at the same time can relieve stress off Peterson. He can bring up the ball. He can initiate offense. He can go for 20 or 25. So now you've got multiple guys in your backcourt who can go off like that, which Kansas hasn't seen in years, which seems pretty ridiculous to a guy like me growing up, where there was always multiple guards who could go get you 15 to 20. So now you're kind of back in that world, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I hope that's the starting backcourt, and if it's not, that probably means Kansas got a pretty damn good guy at the 2 spot if Jaden Dawson isn't starting. But either way, wherever he fits in, I think he's going to be good. I would like to see 3-point shooting numbers go up a bit, but I think that's going to be a product of just how good Darryn Peterson is and how much attention he's going to draw to himself.
Yeah, we said 36 percent last season, 36.3%, but these are the two numbers that stand out to me. Obviously with Darryn Peterson getting downhill, dishing it out. Left corner 3-point attempts. Dawson shot 52% last season.
Oh my gosh.
Right corner shot 48%. So basically, uh,
Beautiful.
50% from corner threes. Kansas gets a lot of corner 3-point opportunities in its offense.
Loving that.
And last season, Kansas missed a lot of them. I mean, I don't know what the numbers were, but I feel like Kansas maybe shot like 30% for on corner threes last year, maybe even worse than that. So having somebody like Dawson who can sit in the corner whenever Peterson drives and knock down those shots is going to be big. Uh, let's get into some quotes here, then we'll do a little bit more rundown on Dawson. This is from Bill Self. He says, "We are so excited about Jaden. He had an excellent year at Loyola Chicago. He's got good size, plays any perimeter position, and can shoot the ball. Jaden is a great start to our portal signing." This is what Dawson said to the Casey Star. He said, "For me, my dream is to get to the next level and be a pro player for my position. I'm trying to showcase I can be more a combo guard, more on the ball. I've shown a lot off the ball, coming off handoffs. What coach presented to me goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do. Self said he wants me more as a combo guard. I think I'm a great shooter. I think I've displayed that as well as my mid-range game. I showed I can get downhill. I want to show I can be more on-ball type coming off screens. I think that's the perfect fit right there. Combo guard can do a lot of different things. That's exactly what Kansas needed.
Yeah. And it worried me a little bit at first when he was like, I think I need the ball in my hands more. But coming off of ball screens, I mean, in the handoffs, like that's what Kansas does offensively. And it's always a tandem. It's never just one guy going back and forth, even when, like even going back to Devon Dotson on that 2020 team that was so good. He was initiating a lot of it, but that's kind of where the development of a guy like Ochai and Marcus Garrett started to come into form of they can also start to do that, come off ball screens, get downhill, relieve the pressure off Devon. And that's going to be the same thing this year, where now you have two guys who really feel comfortable, coming off those kind of the elbow area, three elbow extended on the 3 point line, coming off. That's kind of we've been calling it the 45-degree angle out on the wing. Multiple guys that are comfortable coming from that spot off a screen from Flory or a screen from Bryson Tiller or hopefully another big that Kansas can find in the portal. That's going to be big time. Get to the middle of the floor, get to the middle of the floor. The only guy that was really super great at that last year was Zeke. And man, did he struggle in that paint area with the floaters and little pull ups. I mean, he did not shoot a good percentage from that area. So any type of improvement there is going to really open up Kansas's offense.
Yeah, he's just the complete package for what Kansas needs. Just from watching his highlights, like he just looks like a true hooper, like just kind of lets the game come to him. Uh, the 3-point shot looks really nice. It looks really smooth. He can dish it really nicely too. There are a lot of plays where he was finding big men for Loyola Chicago down low for dunks, and he had some pretty athletic looking dunks himself. There's one or two in particular that were pretty decent posters. So he can take people off the dribble, he can shoot, he can come off those screens, and like he even said, excels in that dribble handoff area, which is 90% of KU's offense. If you watch this
Right.
past season, uh, I don't know, Bess. This is another thing for me, watching Florida go on this run with guys like Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin at the guard position, just some of these guys that come in from the mid-major ranks really want to prove themselves at this level. And he is a guy that I think you said it earlier. Last offseason, it was all of these shiny, big time transfers. This isn't like that. This is a guy who wants to come in, wants to prove himself, wants to be a dog, and he's playing for Kansas. I think it's just a perfect kind of pairing there.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about that. He's a dog. Bill Self's going back to the roots. Just hard nosed, gritty players. Jaden's going to guard. Even Peterson, he's going to guard. We know what Flory can do defensively. Like this is the numbers said last year's team was an elite defensive team. Your eyes would not tell you that, not even in the slightest. So, like, let's see it this year. Let's see it. And I think a lot of that last year I can't even really put my finger on it. The situation like the help defense was okay. Positionally, they were pretty good, but just didn't have the athletes to stay in front of better athletes. And didn't have a five man who was super mobile to do what Kansas needed to do. They had to completely change how they guarded because like to fit into Hunter because they knew he was slow on those ball screens. All of that to say I think this is going to be a much better defensive team. And it starts with guys like Jaden who are going to dive on the floor. They're going to get their nose bloody. They're going to get their hands in there. Like this is an exciting pickup.
All right, let's move on to Trey White, the Illinois forward. Fourth school in 4 seasons for Trey White, but hey, in 2019, he was once a Kansas commit, and he's out of prolific prep, which we know is where Darryn Peterson is coming from. So Kind of interesting tidbit there. Just some general stuff on him as well. 6'7", 210. I think he's more of a four, but can also play the three. He started in all but one game for Illinois last year, averaged 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, shot 50.7% from the field. His 3-point wasn't all that great, but 82% from the line. If you're getting that out of your four position, that's pretty good. Like you said, started his career at USC. He was a all Pac-12 freshman that season, averaged 9 points, 5.1 rebounds per game as a freshman. Went to Louisville, averaged 12.3 points and 5.9 rebounds, which of course is up from his numbers this past year. He had a little bit more limited role with Illinois there, but Trey White, I mean, what were your thoughts whenever Kansas signed him? Whenever I saw this signing, I was like, okay, perfect. That there's your four right there. There's your four man for the Jayhawks.
Not only just a four man, but he can even play the three. He can guard the one. I mean, I think that was what Bill said when we signed him is he was excited about that because he can guard multiple positions. And you can use him in so many different ways. He he's good offensively. Like this isn't like a defensive Swiss Army knife. Like it is, yes, but there is much more to his game. I remember when he committed, and I remember being excited about that. So it was funny. I kind of like forgot about him completely, and now watched a couple Illinois games last year. Saw him out there, like, oh yeah, that's nice. And Illinois had some guys. Their season was very weird because they got really sick during the season, and they were multiple guys out for a long stretch with just illness, which isn't super great, but. I think we kind of saw them come into form, what's funny, in March. And I feel like they could have made a deeper run, but they just didn't have enough time to gel together with all their guys healthy. And Trey White was a big part of that. He's a very good glue guy who's going to give you energy and effort every single time he's out there. I don't know how Bill will use him. Not sure about that yet, but whatever it is, I'm excited for. He mentioned I like the Kevin McCullough comp. I don't think the offensive bag, what we saw from Kevin's senior year, I don't think that's what Trey's going to bring. But I do think Trey's a good finisher for sure. And he's long. I think he's 6'7", and he's strong. But he's not slow either. This is a quick guy who, if he gets switched out on the perimeter on a ball screen, I'm not going to be freaking out about it. I'm going to feel pretty comfortable with that. Um, it's it's another good pickup, dude. It's not a flashy name. It's not, but it's a guy who is going to work hard, and it's a guy Bill's going to be able to get to. He's going to be able to get him to play hard. There's not going to be an AJ Storr situation with either of these two guys, I don't think, because I think they're going to buy into the culture 100,000%. Not that AJ didn't, but it is unarguable that there were times where AJ was worried about AJ, and that's frustrating to watch. Trey is going to be worried about KU. Jaden's going to be worried about KU. And I think you hear the four teams in 4 years, and you get war flashbacks to last season. Even going up to Jaden, athlete, big dunks, can score the ball 15, 16 points a game. You also get flashbacks to last season of, oh my gosh, that we just saw this. Cool, you had a couple really cool dunks, and you're a great athlete, but these two guys are not going to be like that. They're going to buy in. They want to be a part of the Kansas culture. And dude, I'm excited for boot camp, man. I'm excited to get this thing rolling.
You're gonna have to wait a while. That's just to
I
let you
know.
know there.
I know. I'm excited though.
This is what Bill Self said about Trey White. He said, "We are so happy we signed Trey. We've known him for a long time, and it's come full circle since he committed to us uh, out of high school. He's got good size at 6'7" and can play multiple spots like a Swiss Army knife.
There you go.
He's an immediate major contributor, a playmaker, and with his size can guard 1 through 4. The last person that I remember Bill Self calling his Swiss Army knife was Kevin McCullough. Now, I don't think that Trey White, like you said, really compares to McCullough at all. Like completely different players. Like McCullough is more of like a 2-3.
Hmm.
Trey's more like a 3-4. But there are some numbers to be very, very excited about. His offensive rating. last year was 123.7. 115 and above is considered to be very strong. So a lot of offensive capabilities here. 64% field goal percentage at the rim. How many times last year did
Right.
Kansas just not finish, Bez?
Hmm.
So many times. So
Yeah.
many times. It's going to be different with Trey White, and I'm telling you, he is going to get a lot of opportunities playing with Darryn Peterson. He does most of his damage in the paint, but he also, going back to the corner threes, 39% from both corners, which is a lot, obviously higher than his regular percentage. So that's pretty positive. He's also got 1.37 points per possession in transition. That's in the 88th percentile. I think Kansas is going to be a team that grabs and goes a lot this year, especially whenever you have a rim running big like Flory, who can sprint down the court faster than a lot of guards. He's a great cutter. It's just, again, it's the fit. It is the fit that is what really stands out here. It's not the fact that, oh, he averaged 15 and shot 40% from three and this and that. No, it's about the fit. This is a good start, Bez. This is a really good start for Kansas.
Sam, I'm glad you're really honing in on this corner three stuff. So, like, for people confused why we care about those numbers, look, man, this is how modern basketball is played. You got to get out and run, and you got to be able to get into the paint, and you have to be able to rely on guys to hit these shots.
Stretch the defense.
Space this floor out, and Flory is going to be able to do that for you. And I think I've seen this where Flory's, he's not a stretch five, stretch four by any means, but he's an athlete. He can still space the floor. You can't completely sag off of him like you could KJ Adams. I just don't think that's going to be a thing because he's going to be the guy you're running these handoffs for. And if Flory's guy is 10 feet deep, well, guess what? If DP comes off a handoff from Flory and Flory's guy is sitting in the paint, DP is going to be shooting top of the key threes all season with nobody in his face. That's not going to be able, You're not going to be able to guard Kansas like that anymore. And to have these guys be so efficient from the corner, like you said, Kansas shoots a lot of corner threes. They always have under Bill Self. These guys are extremely comfortable getting to that spot and knocking it down. This is just how the game is moving towards. Corner three percentage, it matters a lot. Like the game is turning more like we watched Florida play last night. The sets they're running, they're all NBA sets, all of them. Guys in the NBA shoot 500 corner threes every single day at practice because that's where they know the bulk of their shots are coming from. This is just where the game is moving towards. And it's finally nice to see that the staff care about that and also care about fit, like you were just saying. These guys fit like a glove to what Kansas is trying to do offensively, and their mentality of being dogs, of being gritty, guys who can guard multiple spots. That's really what Kansas needs right now.
And Kansas is getting the horizontal spacing. They
Mm.
already have the vertical spacing of being able to throw it up to Flory for Darryn Peterson to be able to go up, do some putback dunks. I'm loving it, Bez. I'm loving it. This is just kind of the dream scenario for Kansas. The first two portal pickups. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Whenever we come back, we're going to talk about Darryn Peterson. He had quite an eventful last week. We're going to talk about that week for him, and then we're going to talk about kind of the pieces, how they're complimenting him, and just some further roster outlook. We will be right back, y'all.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. It's time to talk about Darryn Peterson And quite an incredible week that he had. And then we'll get more into the roster, how to construct it around him with the pieces that Kansas has added. First up for Darryn Peterson was the McDonald's All-American game. In this game, Darryn Peterson was the co-MVP. He led his team to a win, had 18 points, a game high, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 assists. But what stood out the most, Bez, was just all the times he dunked the basketball. He had a couple putbacks. He had a one-handed slam in this game. Was an incredible McDonald's All-American game. And then 2 days later, Darryn's playing in Chipotle Nationals on the biggest stage. First game of Chipotle Nationals. They play Long Island Lutheran with Kyan Anthony, with Nigel James going to Marquette. They also have MJ Madison, a really good 4-star in the class of 2026. They have the Mingo brothers, Caden Mingo, going to Penn State. His little brother Dylan Mingo, a 5-star, still undecided. Lehigh High is a really good team. They were the 3 seed in this tournament for a reason. Prolific Prep was the 6 seed. What did Darryn Peterson do against them? Not only did he guard Kyan Anthony and kind of limit him down the stretch of this game, Kyan missed 2 3-pointers at the end. He also had 28 points, 10 of 22 from the field, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks, or sorry, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 turnovers in this game. And he was 0 of 6 from 3-point range, Bez. But whenever it was game time, whenever Prolific Prep needed a big shot, Darryn Peterson stepped up and nailed it. Ended up putting Prolific Prep up 70 to 68, I believe. And there's a wild sequence kind of at the end. Kyan missed a 3-pointer. And then I think Prolific ended up fouling on the rebound opportunity. Gave Lehigh High 2 free throws. They tie the game. But then Darryn kind of took over in the overtime frame as well, and led Prolific to the win. I don't know if you watched, Bez, but that was a pretty crazy performance by Darryn Peterson, and that shot I'll remember for quite some time.
No, I was tuned in, man. I was at the office, made everybody watch with me. I might have been a little annoying about the whole deal because this was a rough year and it's nice to see something go your way. But the thing that sticks out to most to me after these games, and this is even going to the McDonald's game, is the kid's a competitor. He just is. It's really easy in that All-American game, just like you see it in the NBA All-Star game. I watched a little bit of the college All-Star game, which I shouldn't have done because I feel like that put my basketball IQ back like 4 years. That was an awful game.
They were playing at the McDonald's game, like
They're
50
going, man.
scouts there.
Right. Like they're going. And it kind of reminds me of those guys like back prime Westbrook. He goes for 45 in the All-Star game just because he doesn't know how to turn it off. And Peterson seems like one of those guys to me, guarding Cayenne the whole game while handling the ball literally the whole game. Like, dude, that's just competitive stuff right there. His motor is so freaking high that, it gets me excited. Like those big time Saturday conference games, you got Tech at home, it's a battle. You got Peterson going that whole game. Then you turn around big Monday right away. You're at, West Virginia right off the bat. Like he's going to be prepared for those moments. He doesn't know how to turn it off. He just goes and goes and goes. And it showed in that McDonald's game. He was way better than everybody on the floor for multiple stretches. Even Dybansta, man, like I don't think Dybansta was really going in that game. He finished with okay numbers. I think he also had 18. But like, man, Peterson was just going. He was trying, which is hard to do in those games because it's a pretty lax environment. Everyone's trying to show off what they do. Not Peterson, man. He's go, go, go. And I'm just excited for his competitive spirit, dude. It's going to be super refreshing, and he's going to guard the other team's best perimeter guy a lot, and that's going to be fun to watch.
He is a great defender. Like he is a
No,
top.
we
top
don't even talk about that. Nobody talks about because his offense is so good. But man, he can guard.
He can. The second game for him at Chipotle, Prolific ended up getting blown out by Drive Nation. Uh, Darryn Peterson in that game, 24 points, but it was on 9 of 27 field goals. Not great. He shot 14 from three, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 1 turnover. I'll say this, though, Drive Nation is the most connected team defensively that I have seen in high school basketball. Like that team, they were a 10 seed heading into Chipotle Nationals, the last overall seed, ended up making it to the championship game against Columbus, and really the entire first half, Drive Nation was right in there. Couldn't
Yeah.
make any shots, but they were right there. And then Columbus, the Boozer twins, ended up, kind of dominating that game in the second half, taking Chipotle. But I mean, even in that game, Darren wasn't going for him, but he still willed prolific prep in a lot of stretches. So that was good to see. The biggest thing that I've noticed from Darryn Peterson this past week, because I've seen him, 3, 4 times now. I got to see him 2 days in a row playing at the highest level. He really does just dunk everything. That is the first thing that jumps off the page is just I kind of underestimated really just how special of an athlete he is. He is 6'5", pushing 6'6", and I'm not sure what his wingspan is, Bez, but I would assume it's probably like 6'8", 6'9", and he plays the point guard position. Like that, it's pretty special. And he just does so many things where you are just like you're literally left like looking to the person next to you, just like, after he does something like you have no words. But that look, like you know the look that I'm talking about, guys.
Oh yeah.
He's just truly a special dude. He really is. And another big thing is his playmaking, his feel passing the basketball has gotten so much better. Like I really just don't have words for it, Bez. Like he can just make plays. And sometimes, I feel like his prolific teammates they get the ball and they're kind of just like how the in the world did I just get the ball in this position because it sometimes just really doesn't make sense. But I could talk all day. I feel like I'm running out of words just for what to say about Darryn Peterson at this point. I really am.
It's been a long time since Kansas has had such a high quality NBA prospect. Like a lot of the clips I see of him are from NBA outlets being like number one pick, blah blah blah. Like this is such a high upside guy that we just haven't seen in a while. And I don't know if he's gonna have like, Frank and Devontae senior seasons, respectively, were so good just in Bill Self's system. And Peterson for sure has a chance to do that and better. But at the same time, even Ochai, like Ochai was a lottery pick, but he was never highly regarded like this as an athlete, as a playmaker, as a potential like all-star, man. Like he's gonna be like Kansas's next Embiid. I really believe that. Just a guy that, elevates those Jayhawks in the NBA, man. Like especially since Embiid's kind of on that downfall, but like he has got that he's just got that it factor, and it's been so long since we've seen that. So just that's all I have to say. We're out of words. We have talked about him so much, but rightfully so. Like this is the most exciting player Kansas is going to have in the past decade, probably.
Maybe so. Maybe so. All right, let's get into kind of some further roster outlook, the pieces that are surrounding Darryn Peterson. Like we said earlier, you got two spots figured out. You got your point guard, you got your center. And I think that's really important that you have that, right? There are some teams that don't necessarily have that set in stone right now.
Right.
Not only do you have that, you have two people who complement each other. Like we said, defensively, Kansas is going to be a lot different. They're going to be a lot more, athletic and positionally sized and just overwhelming. Like I feel like Kansas defense last year was solid, but never overwhelmed you, never turned you over like a bunch, like a Houston does. This year or this coming year, I think it's going to be a lot different. I think Trey White is pretty much the starting four, right? I kind of like that more, not necessarily your Jalen Wilson, with his
Right.
three-point shooting, but your Jalen Wilson type where he can grab and go. He rebounds well. He can
Finish as well.
he finishes well. He can dribble. Like he can do kind of a lot of different things. Unlike, having a KJ Adams at the four, that's pretty limited in what he can do. Uh, El Marco and Dawson, as kind of your complementary guards. I'm kind of liking that. Uh, I don't know. It's just a lot to like right now. This is kind of my roster breakdown right now. Darryn Peterson, Dawson is probably going to start either at the two or three. Trey White, Flory. I still think Kansas needs to go out and get another. Yeah, I know we've kind of said the whole sexy name, maybe. I don't know. I think Kansas needs one more sexy name. I think Kansas needs a guy that is like, okay, wow, like this is something here. And I think it needs to be a two guard, or just another guy who can do a lot of different things, handle the ball. I think a three guard look of Peterson, because he's a bigger guy,
Okay.
still playing the one, and then a guy like maybe a LeBaron Philon, an Ian Jackson who just entered the portal yesterday
Loving
from North
Jackson.
Carolina at the two, and then Dawson, White, Flory. I think that is probably the five that Kansas needs to go to. And then off the bench, I think Marco being the first guard off the bench is fine. I think Tiller and McDowell being your ninth, 10th man is great. I think Kansas still has two open spots. A backup big is a necessity. Kansas isn't going in next season with just Flory and Bryson
Right.
Tiller. I'll tell you that much. Kansas is going to need a backup big. And then the other open spot, I'm thinking a wing type of player. And really, the one player that I'm looking at in the portal who I think complements this team is somebody who's on Kansas roster last season, and Marquise Passmore. Can
I was just thinking that, man.
can Kansas bring him back, Bez?
Maybe. Maybe. Who freaking knows anymore, dude? Like I really like Ian Jackson when I saw that. I thought he was a freaking stud in high school and kind of had a similar situation, not even close to the Passmore situation, but similar in the way that he was underutilized at UNC. And even worse for that is they were not good. They barely made the tournament, probably shouldn't have made the tournament. Win a game against San Diego State, that's great. But you go ahead and get blown out by Ole Miss right after, and there still wasn't ever like a Ian Jackson game. And I feel like he's very capable of that. I think he starts if he comes. Same with LeBaron. But yeah, I do agree with you. The El Marco piece, we haven't seen him play in so long, so I don't want to make any kind of take on him yet. Until we really get to see him play, see how healthy he is, see how much he's improved. I think Tiller's going to surprise some people, man. I was so high on him when he committed. I know he just had a big injury, but if he's fully healthy, I think he can be a sixth, seventh guy off the bench for Kansas. I think he's that solid. I think he's mature as a player. And then Jamari, he's going to give you spot minutes if you need it. He's a huge culture guy, loves Kansas, and everybody loves Jamari, and he's we haven't seen him in a while either. So, but he hasn't been hurt. He has been working out. So I do think he's probably gotten a lot better. But yeah, I would really love Ian Jackson. LeBaron, obviously. Like the only thing with LeBaron is he had some moments for Bama this year where it was like, screw you, Sears. It's Phylon time. And that does scare me a little bit because Sears was a very established stud by that point, and LeBaron was like, nah, I got this, Nate. Don't even worry about it. But so that's just something I worry about a little bit taken away from Peterson, but he can hoop, man. We knew that coming in when he committed last year. We were so pumped for that. And then he went out and had a great season at Alabama, being really the anchor of that second unit. So I think the roster looks okay. It's small right now, but I like it because Flory can guard. He can hang with 7-footers because his wingspan's so long. So you don't need a 6'11", 7-foot guy. You have a 6'9" guy who can hang with those guys. And then offensively, you're flying around. You're running out in transition. Everybody can run, can go, go, go. I'm kind of excited to see it's not small ball, but it's smaller ball than what we've had previously.
I think Kansas needs to really just go all out in the identity of just being this athletic, fast, just drive right down your throat, get out in transition, pressure the ball, like just buy all into that identity. And Peterson, Flory, Trey White, Dawson all go into that. I mean, I think if you have two people, if you have a Darryn and a Phylon or a Jackson, just two dudes who can just get downhill whenever they want and really just facilitate, that will be really, really good for Kansas. So those are kind of the top two on the top of my wish list. Maybe a Rodney Rice also in the portal right now. Kind of maybe fits that. He's more of a shooter though, I feel like. Uh, some more
Ooh.
names. I'm just going to throw them out there. You can react. RJ Luis. I really don't know about, yeah, like I'm not really there on the fit with this team, but sexy
Thumbs
name,
down.
you know? Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle there. Tyon Grant Foster entered the portal.
He's 37.
I mean, you laugh, but like
I am laughing.
if there's a scenario where Kansas can pick up two guys and put Dawson to the bench as your first guy off the bench, then I'm feeling a lot better about the team. Are you not? Like, let's say it's DP, Phylon Jackson, Tyon, Trey White, Flory, and then you got Dawson and Elmarco off the bench with a backup big and Tiller and McDowell. Like, you're feeling pretty good about that. Jaden Quaintance is another really interesting name in the portal.
Freak. He's a freak.
I mean, you pair him and Flory together. That's getting interesting. Kansas would obviously be playing a little bigger, but I think that would work pretty well for Kansas. Honor Huff entered his name to the portal, top scorer out of the SoCon. Just some other names: Kyan Evans, Colorado State combo guard, believe Kansas has made contact with. Blake Harper, one of the top scoring freshmen this past year at Howard. Kind of your wing guard type of player. Nas Cunningham at Alabama,
Mm.
former like top five recruit.
Yes.
Hasn't really worked out for him. He could be somebody that slides into that open wing spot, that open bench wing spot. Gets like 18 to 20 minutes per game. And then some big men, Sean Phillips Jr., Malik Ewan are two names that I'm looking for as kind of that backup big. But really, you look at the portal right now. This is why I think Kansas is still in an interesting spot. There's really not a lot of names left. Like
Mm.
most of the kids are committed already. So, maybe whiffing on a guy like Josh Dix who ended up going to Creighton ends up kind of biting Kansas because there's not many, players out there. But I still think there's a lot of guys like I said, Kansas needs to land another sexy name still. They need to land a Phylon, a Jackson, a Luis Acquaintance, a Tyon, somebody sexy still, in my opinion. But I don't know. It's looking up. It's looking up, Bez. It's
I
looking a
definitely
lot
agree
better
there.
than it was
Yeah.
last week whenever
Oh,
I was kind of freaking out about all these guys just
mm.
getting, committing places. And it's like, what is Kansas doing here? Feel a lot better.
I was definitely freaking out too, man. And like Dix doesn't show up. That he's probably a great fit at Creighton, so it does make sense to me. But that's a guy I really wanted. He's just super solid, and he's a shooter, man. That guy can go. But Town Grant Foster will be 26 for next year's March Madness. That is insane. Those JUCO years,
Experience.
experience, man. If he doesn't commit, I'll be okay with that. If he does commit, Bill's got a plan for it, so I'll have faith in that. Like I said, I think Ian Jackson would be great, and then just get a solid big, solid backup big. Doesn't need to do too much. Maybe a little bit better than Parker Brown, but kind of in that similar, just solid. I'll do what Bill tells me to. I'll rebound. Might block a shot or two. I'll throw down a lob. Very simple stuff. That's really all Kansas needs there. But yeah, I wouldn't hate one big name, and I don't know where Kansas is at with any of those guys, but I think that Phylon Jackson, that two, first of all, those are probably the top two biggest names left. Like you said, there's just not a ton of dudes left. So if you can actually get one of those two guys, that would be big time. And I think that kind of sets you, like you said, like now you've got options to bring Dawson off the bench, and say you go get Quaintance. I don't know if Quaintance necessarily starts, but man, he's another kind of dog type of guy. And his season was
He would
weird.
absolutely start if he came, by the way.
His season was weird. That Arizona State team was really weird, and he didn't have the best game ever when they played at Allen Fieldhouse. But he also, I'm pretty sure, had like 11 rebounds. Like he is a super, super high activity athlete. So guys like that's what Kansas needs to go get. RJ Lewis, I'm good on, or Luis. Saw some interview the other day where he was talking about, I wish Patino would have coached me up more. I was like, you wish Rick Pitino would have coached you up more? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So that's kind of going away from all the good culture dog guys we're getting. So I'm good on that. You can go wherever you want, RJ. But give me Ian Jackson, baby. Give me Ian Jackson.
Yeah. Dream team. This is my dream team, part two. I named the dream team last episode. Peterson, Phylon or Ian Jackson, Trey White at the three,
Oh,
Quaintance, Flory, right? Just go big, go big.
fine.
And then you got El Marco, Dawson, hopefully a backup big, and then Tiller and McDowell on the bench.
Yeah. Yeah. I like going big there because it's not two big burly guys. It's two athletes who just happen to be bigger humans who can really move and can really guard.
Yeah, this is my final thought, Bez, before we wrap up. I saw some sort of tweet yesterday. I think it was maybe Rothstein who tweeted this, but it was about, Kentucky grabbing whoever and whoever out of the portal. And basically the tweet was, you know, that they're doing a good job of building a team, not just collecting talent, right?
Mm,
It's about building a team. It's about making a roster where guys fit. Yes, obviously you need talent, but it's collecting guys that fit. And I think KU from this offseason compared to last is definitely focusing more on building a team rather than collecting talent.
100%. 110% agree. And it's not like the guys you're getting aren't talented. I mean, you're getting guys like Trey White, who's a high level recruit back in the day. Obviously, there's talent there. Dawson just put up 15 a game in an A10 conference that was not shabby at all. That was a really solid conference this year and had the potential to send multiple teams to the tournament all year long. It just didn't work out. But that's a good conference. It's not a Summit League situation, like that's a solid conference. These guys can absolutely play. Obviously, we know Flory can play. You get one big name like you're talking about, that guy is going to be able to play. Like you're building a team with talented guys. They're not the AJ Store high level type we saw last season, but like we're saying, that didn't work. And everybody around the program kind of knows that. So now you're taking the old school Bill Self approach. Like you used to do it with freshmen, you used to do it on the recruiting trail. The mindset shouldn't change. It's just a different way of going about it. And I think they're doing a much better job of that this year.
Yeah, there you have it, y'all. Trey White, Jaden Dawson, our Jayhawks. Flory is returning. Everything is looking up for Kansas basketball. We will see you guys next time, probably after the next big portal name that Kansas lands that we're talking about. We'll be back with another episode. Thanks again for joining us. Rock chalk, y'all. All right, just a little PS to tag at the end of this
Yeah.
episode. Uh, Literally right as we finish recording, Jamie Shaw has tweeted that Jaden Quaintance has committed to Kentucky. So there goes, all that talk that we just said there. Jaden Quaintance will not be a Jayhawk. He's heading to the Wildcats. So yeah, just had to throw that in there.
I'm all right with that. I'm okay. I'm
Yeah,
okay. I'm okay.
it's whatever. It's
Yeah,
whatever. Kansas is getting Ian Jackson or LeBaron Philon, so it's all good.
please. Let's do it.